Do you ever wonder how different your life would be if there was one small change in your life, and then how different it would be if there was one big change? Just before year 11, my dad landed a great new job. It was better pay and a fresh and new change. However, it was over 3,000 kilometres away. My family had to up and move interstate from Melbourne to Perth. It was a big move, and I didn't particularly want to make that huge adjustment in my last 2 and most important years of learning at school. We moved in January, but didn't actually settle until 6 weeks into the term, which meant that it was already 9 weeks in. I was definitely behind. I had to play catch up across 5 different subjects and also try and make new friends, unpack our house, get a job, and somehow get used to the new environment we had found ourselves in. It was safe to say I was a mess, especially in those first couple of weeks at school. I had one teacher that I remember distinctly, my chemistry teacher, who we'll call Mr. C. Mr. C really knew how to get us all engaged and all on the same page. He was always trying to get us to learn in different ways, whether it was a group task or simply getting outside on a good day and completing our work there. I never saw him look at the textbook once unless it was to go over any questions we were unsure about. While teaching, he would effectively use the transactional process mode of communication. He would always start the lesson by asking how we felt about the content from the last lesson and would allow time for any student to become confident and familiar in that unit. He would always take into consideration how I was feeling after my move and would give me a little leeway should I need it, because he understood I was already stressed about my move. He would invite and encourage any of us to speak up in his classroom if we found something interesting or if we wanted to change the way we learned that day. He knew that there were so many variables and outside environmental factors that would change the dynamics of his classroom every day, and so was always flexible in any way that he could be. He ensured the classroom was a safe space for learning and also just general interaction. You could tell he was always listening in his body language and response. He didn't dismiss any of his students' needs or anything we said. It was almost as though through this mode of communication, he created a small community in his classroom. He was one of the main reasons I wanted to pursue teaching as my future career. It was clear that Mr. C understood the Australian professional teaching standards. The standard that I thought he encapsulated and achieved was standard number 2, and in particular 2.1. Know the content and develop teaching strategies of the teaching area. This was quite obvious when he taught in the classroom, but it was also obvious outside the classroom as well. He would use other teachers and even colleagues outside of our school to come in and help us if he ever wasn't sure of anything or wasn't too confident or as confident as he wanted to be. He was the head of the science department at our school, and so would organise professional development, or PD, for other teachers to attend to extend their knowledge as well as his own. He was always consistent and was a great teacher, yet always wanted to improve and develop. He definitely accomplished the lead level descriptors for Standard 2.1. He also demonstrated responsibility from the Teaching Code of Ethics in Queensland. He knew that it was on him to improve his own teaching and learning. He went to PD to not only advance his knowledge of the content, but also to learn new teaching strategies that may enhance his practice as a teacher. He prioritised the education and also the welfare of his students by making sure we were all on the same learning page and checking in to see how we were doing emotionally. If I didn't have Mr. C as my teacher, I may have given up that year. I'm so thankful I was placed in his class. I don't know where I would be. I don't even think I would be in teaching, or I wouldn't even know what my career was if it weren't for him. If you were to take anything away from this presentation, please make sure that you take into account the personal lives of your students. Not everyone is able to leave their baggage at the door. It's just one small thing that you could do that will make a huge difference and make the world of difference to your students and your classroom. I hope to be half the teacher Mr. C was to me.